Hello, my crafty friends. I'm so glad that you've decided to join me today for another fun episode of Running with Scissors. I always feel like I'm just running around like crazy before I get ready for my live stream, but it's a really great chance for me to slow down and spend some time with you, and I'm glad to be here. If you're new to my channel, I encourage you to click on that thumbs up if you love today's video, and also don't forget to share this out to your friends and groups out on Facebook or wherever it is that you might connect with your crafty community. I'd love to have people join us here, so please do click on that share button and share this out, especially while we're live. That way we can gather an even bigger community and have even more fun. Anyway, I am so glad you all are here today. We're going to be having some more fun with background stamps and doing some really cool things with a background stamp and some pattern paper. It's a really cool project. We are reprising the Kylee Girl stamp from Picket Fence because I had so much fun with it last week. You're going to love this take on it this week. If you saw the preview thumbnail for today's video, then you kind of know what today's project looks like, and we'll talk a little bit about how all of it comes together. So of course that's like the sneak peek, and then we talk about all the ins and outs and how I create everything, and you get to see that live. So glad to see everybody joining me live here. I see you all popping into the chat. If you are new here and you don't feel like lurking today, please do just pop in and say hello. Tell us where you're from and maybe a little bit about the weather today. So because we are all across the world, we've got Cece out in Sweden. She says it's 30 degrees Celsius, which is pretty warm, 86 degrees Fahrenheit. That's kind of how it gets here in Nebraska in the summer, except we have lots of humidity. So as we like to say, it's like talking through a wet paper towel. It is not fun at all. So my husband is out golfing today, and it's really, really humid. So super gross outside. Anyway, we've got lots of things going on, and I'm trying to kind of follow along with all my channels to make sure things are working properly. And sometimes I don't see everything coming up together, so it's just a little distracting. Sorry about that. Okay, so hey, let's get to a few announcements, and we've got a fun project to share that I actually got in the mail this week, so excited about. Okay, so let's take a look at announcements. Announcements are the same as last week. We are finishing up our focus on cool techniques with backgrounds, and today you're going to love the project. Next month, we're going to be doing cool techniques with embossing folders, another product that I really, really love because they're fairly inexpensive and they're super versatile. And now that we have 3D embossing folders, there's so many cool things that we can do with those, right? So we're going to be using those, and so that means that you can pull out any embossing folders you already have and follow along with the techniques and share your projects online. So as always, I love to encourage you to create a project based on what you've seen today. You can even case it if you want and share it out on social media. Don't forget to hashtag Pixel Mavens Retreat, or tag me out on social media so that way I can see it and share it here live. Of course, I always appreciate you using my affiliate links when you shop. That's just an easy way for you to show appreciation for the content and the live streams that I produce here for you for free. And it's at no additional cost to you. When you click on those links and you go shopping, I might get a small commission from the company that you're shopping with. But again, that doesn't cost you anything extra. So it's a really great way to show support to me and to other creators that you enjoy out on YouTube and Facebook and everywhere else in social media. And then, of course, our last announcement is that the Bloom community is coming soon. And if you want to find out all the latest and greatest on that, you're going to want to be subscribed, that's it, to my newsletter. So that way you find out all the information about the Bloom community as soon as I publish it. All right, so that's it for the announcements. Let's take a look at the project that was shared. So one of our avid listeners, followers, watchers, and a new Bloom community member, Anne, she is also a Altenew educator candidate, and she's going to be doing her level 3 projects in I guess next week. And so I'm going to be attending her workshop. That's the word that I'm looking for, her workshop. And she sent me all of her stuff, but she also sent me this card, which I'd seen online. I think I shared this last week, but she sent it to me live and in person, and it's absolutely gorgeous. So this is based on the card that we did last week. So it's got this beautiful script in the background, and I'm pretty sure she used some Perfect Pearls or some other kind of mica ink, mica powder to create this. And then she's got this beautiful flower in here that it's been colored in. It's really, really, really gorgeous. And I absolutely love it. And I'm so touched that she sent it to me along with all the supplies for the workshop. So best of luck to you, Anne, on your workshop. I will see you there next week. And you're going to do awesome. You're going to kill it. I'm really excited to do it with you and support you in your educator journey. So good luck with you there. And thank you for sending me this beautiful card. All right, so let's see, lots of chitter chat going on here. So talking about the weather, we are talking about embossing folders for next month, which is going to be awesome. Hello, Teresa, so glad you are popping in. Okay, so let's take a look at today's project, and this is another one. I mean, after last week's project, I love this project too. I think it's absolutely beautiful. So check out that Kylee Girl. This is the same stamp from last week. We're going to do some heat embossing on vellum. And I paired 3 companies together. So of course, Kylee Girl, we know, is from Picket Fence. And then the background, both the paper and the stamp, is from Altenew. The sentiment comes from My Favorite Things. And actually the inks, I guess I could say, excuse me, I could say 4 companies because the inks come from Imagine Crafts and Sukanika. We're going to be using some VersaFine inks again. All right, so this technique that we're doing here is a background stamp on top of patterned paper. So if you're kind of tired of your patterned paper, or you want a more complex look, but you want to get it pretty easily, this is a great way to do it. Grab a piece of patterned paper and then stamp a background stamp on top of it. So I really like this background stamp because it's also flowers. So we've got kind of 2 floral patterns. And these are like little windows into the background. It's really great. I super, super love it. And we're going to do some blending here. I'm going to show you how to do that with VersaFine Clair. All right, so that is today's project. Let's get started. Okay. All right, so there it is. Set that up to the side. Okay, so this paper comes from the Celebrate paper pack that Altenew and Pink Fresh Studios did in a collaboration. This is my last piece of paper, with this pattern on it. So I used both for my projects because I used the other one for my sample. All right, and we're going to cover that with the Bold Floral Drape stamp from Altenew. Now this one's been out for a while. And like I said, I love it because it's got, it's going to be floral on floral, right? But it's got these big open spaces, so you can really see some of the background pattern in there on top of that, right? So it does come with dies to cut these guys out, and these guys coordinate with these flowers here, but we won't be using those today. Let's pop that over there. Oh, I need to get a MISTI. All right. And I should let Becca know I did get my precision press from We Are Memory Keepers, and I'm going to be playing with that a little bit tomorrow. So maybe next week it will pop out there. All right, so these large stamps are always such a pain to get off of the carrier sheet, right? Oh my goodness. Okay, so I've got these 2 here. Now I'm going to be cutting this down, obviously, so I can kind of put it in a direction I want, and then I can put this stamp anywhere I want on top. And basically what's going to happen, obviously, is in these open spaces, the flowers are going to peek through and that kind of thing. So I'm not too concerned about where exactly it goes. We're going to get a really good look here, no matter what. All right, so I've got that popped right on here. All right. Now, for my ink colors, I've got Monarch, and I have Charming Pink. Okay. And oops, So these two colors are basically analogous colors. They're next to each other on the color wheel, next to ish, I guess you could say. So they're going to work really well together. Of course, pink and purple, they're kind of derivative, right? So on one side, I'm going to do the pink, and on the other side, I'm going to do the purple. I'm already getting dirty hands. I am going to get purple hands from this because I'm going to be using a little sponge. So this is a blusher sponge from Imagine Crafts. And they're kind of hard to find unless you get them from imaginecrafts.com. What I found for you in the supplies list is a newer offering by Spectrum Noir. And I'm assuming they're about the same, but you know what? These are really just makeup brushes or makeup sponges. So if you have makeup sponges, that will work just as well. Why I'm using this is because it's a nice dense foam. All right, and so that's going to give me a nice smooth blend when I use it on my stamp. If I used a brush, you're going to see like the brush strokes in here. If I use a sponge, like a regular craft sponge, it's going to kind of maybe make more texture than I wanted to. So I really wanted a smooth blend. And we're going to have to do this blend more than once, so we want this to work out well. Okay, so on one side, I've got my purple. And then on the other side, I've got my pink. And look, I'm getting a little bit of the ink on here. That's okay. That tends to happen with colors when you're using them together. I guess if I started with the pink, you wouldn't notice it as much. I'll do that next time around. All right, so I'm just taking my, my sponge here and just blending down this line in the center. I don't want there to be any harsh lines between the two. Right. And as you can see, it ends up a little lighter here because this is picking up some of that color, right? But we're going to have to go over this a couple of times, so it will eventually all fill in. All right, so now we're starting to see what that's going to look like. All right, so let's do that again. This paper does have a little bit of a texture to it, so it is going to take a couple of passes. All right, and again, take my sponge and just hit that little line in the center there. Yeah, Sue, I think it already looks good, but once you get a couple of layers on here and you get like a nice solid purple and a nice solid pink, I think it looks even better. So that begs the question, why am I using VersaFine Clair? So you know how when you stamp a couple of times with a regular dye ink, the color starts to spread, right? So with VersaFine Clair, because it's an oil-based pigment, it's basically sitting on top and seeping into the paper a little bit, but it's not like really getting into the fibers where it's going to start spreading if it gets too saturated. So that's one of the great things about VersaFine Clair is that it really keeps those super crisp lines no matter how many times you stamp it. And that's why I own all 24 colors of VersaFine Clair. And I just screwed that up. Look at that. So it's not going to be perfect now because I just, I forgot to realign my paper before I put it in here. That's okay. A lot of it's going to be covered up anyway. All right, see, I got a little shadow there now because I forgot to put my paper. I was talking too much, guys. Not supposed to let me do that. But listen, over here, I can grab this space. We're not going to notice it at all. Promise. So you don't always have to throw away a piece of paper and start over from scratch. A lot of times you can recover from that. Okay, so now make sure that I'm in the corner here. And we'll work around it. Yes, Distress Oxide pads would also give you a nice crisp line, I'm sure. They're a water-based pigment ink, right? You just have to be careful about the chalky look, right? Because when it dries, you're going to get a little bit of a chalky look. And that just has to be what you're going for. All right, that should be good enough. So see, look at how nice and solid that purple is. It almost looks black. When it dries, it will lighten up a little bit. Right, and then the pink in here, and you can see where I oopsed. But if we cut out from like this area here, you're never going to notice. All right, clean this up a little bit. It cleans up pretty well too. I mean, you're just going to use water or a regular stamp cleaner. You don't need anything special to clean VersaFine Clair. I will clean this up a little better later and get into these little crevices and things. And most of this purple will go away. All right. Put that over there, out of the way. Okay, so my next step then is to get this cut down. So I'm going to do two things here. I've got the creative edges from Altenew. This one is, you know, I'm realizing I could probably back up a little bit here. There, that's a little better. This one's been around for a while. I love a good notebook edge. I don't know why it's a thing. Maybe it's like because I love office supplies. Oh my gosh. But yeah, so I'm just going to run this across, and then I'll cut my final piece down to 4 1/4 by, 3 3/4 by 5. And that's going to fit with a nice 1/4 inch border around the edge here. So let me go take care of that. I want to make sure that I get this going in the right direction first and taped down. I want to make this as square as possible because, you know, I'm going to be cutting out the rest of it and I don't want to have a wonky edge. All right, so that's going to go through. All right, so this is kind of a fun little piece. So you're going to get, you know, 2 for 1 here. And if the piece is larger than your die, you just need to just break it off there. But this is kind of a fun piece to use later for another project. It's kind of an interesting little detail that would look really good for like maybe a collage project or something like that. Okay. So now that I've got this done, I can cut this down to the size that I need to finish it off. All right. See, easy enough. Now I've got a nice, fun, double patterned background, one that's been stamped on and one that's got that background in there. Awesome, right? Yeah, so Becca, it is kind of like a little line of trees, right? That's what I always think when I see it too. I don't know why, but they do look like little lollipop trees, right? So very cool. All sorts of conversation going on today. Congratulations to Sue for your upcoming wedding anniversary. I feel like I zoned out for a minute there, did I? Okay, so our next things we've got going on here is we need to do some stamping and embossing. So we'll pull out Kylee Girl again. And today we are going to use the die for her as well. All right. And again, we're not going to do black. We're not going to do what you expect because that's just kind of boring, right? So pop her in there. So I have a piece of vellum. And I'm going to use the same Monarch ink to ink her up. But first I've got to put some anti-static on here. Vellum is, by its own nature, it's a very staticky. So I always like to make sure I get a nice coat of anti-static powder. And this is just baby powder in a jar with a brush. Because it works, it's simple, and it's like no fail. All right, so let's make sure she's gonna. All right. So it really only takes one coat when you're doing something like this, especially on vellum. So I'll pop that right on there. That wasn't supposed to happen. Here's the interesting thing. It looks equally as pretty on the back side. So if you wanted to do a different kind of technique where you wanted to have the stamping on the back side, maybe so you could color on the front, this would be a great way to do it on the vellum. All right, but here's our front side. Look at how wet that is. So we want to be really careful. Don't want to run our hands or anything through that right now, because the VersaFine Clair is going to stay fairly wet on the vellum for quite a while. All right, so that's why I'm going to heat set it with some clear embossing powder. But here's a disadvantage. So it looks really beautiful with that shade of purple right now. When I put the clear embossing on it, it is going to kind of fade a little bit. So if you really like the look of this versus this, what I would do is just heat set this without the embossing on it. So, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Heat embossing on vellum. I'm just going to put the clear on there and it's going to go. So let me just heat this up and we can see the difference between the two once this is dry. All right. So I'm just going to, you can really tell when it's dry and when it's not. So it's got a nice sheen to it right now. But as you can see, it takes a long time for this to dry, even using a heat tool. So basically what I'm looking for is where I see the ink still kind of glossy. All right, so I've been drying this for a little bit now, but you can still see that there is still a little bit of gloss on there. If I put my finger on it, you can see that it's still coming through. So as you can see, if you want this look, which I think is absolutely stunning, it's going to take this just a little bit longer to dry. The oil just doesn't really want to dry quickly on this, but eventually you will see that it goes completely matte and you have a dried image. So you can go ahead and wait for that to happen. All right. Or you can go ahead and put some clear on it and call it good. That, of course, is always up to you. So watch this. I've been drying this for, a minute or two here, right? Well, guess what? She's still damp enough that the whole thing covered with embossing powder. All right. So now we can heat this up. All right, so to answer Sue's question, this is just the Lawn Fawn vellum. It's not anything special. It's, you know, probably 80-pound vellum or whatever. It is not very thick. It's not super thin. It's just a nice weight. But yeah, it doesn't really wrinkle up. But if you notice, I'm moving my heat gun around a lot. When I do this with vellum, I like to move it around a lot so that way I don't scorch the paper. And that also helps to keep it from wrinkling or rolling up. I mean, it did roll a little, but it's not too bad. Okay. Get a couple things out of the way. All right, so we got, we're going to die cut this guy. All right, she ends up getting a nice little border around her. All right. All right, so there we go. And then the last thing that we need is a sentiment. And I was looking through all of my stamp sets for a really good sentiment. And like last week's with a kind of a heartfelt, and as Becca pointed out, she's very you know, reflective and introspective, right? I thought the one, You're One of a Kind, will look really nice on here, and that is coming from my favorite things, Caticorn. So this You're One of a Kind. So this we will just go ahead and heat emboss in white. And then we're going to chop it down into all these little pieces. Yeah, Teresa. So ink drying on vellum in general is difficult. I always, if I'm not going to be heat embossing over it, I always hit it with the heat gun. Even if it's dye ink, I hit it with a heat gun. All right. That's good. So what I'm going to do with this is, instead of pulling out another ink, so you do not need to have a Versamark for this, because as you saw, VersaFine Clair is awfully sticky ink. And I've got my white here. I'm just going to use the Monarch. I could use the pink too. It doesn't matter. It's all going to get covered in white anyway. So just stamp that on there. And then I can cover it in white. It's not going to bleed through, which is super nice. And I think I've said this before, but I really like the sentiments from my favorite things. They are so crisp and clean, easy to read. They emboss amazing every time. And there we go. So I think I've been pointing this out lately. The embossing, the anti-static powder always leaves a little white chalkiness behind on here, right? So I just take my damp cloth and I just wipe over it real quick to get that off of there and get this nice to back to a nice black, right? So hey, guess what? We have all the pieces we need to make our card. Except for my card base. Where did it go, guys? So the card base, and now we need to do is some gluing. It's a beautiful card. It comes together, as you can see, very quickly. You can have lots of fun with your different backgrounds. If you didn't want this to be white on the back, you could take your VersaFine and put some color on the back side. I did that on this one. So the back side of this is purple. If you want to do that, you certainly can, or you can just leave it white. Either way works. But I don't glue this part down. I want this to be kind of free, so that way it can crinkle up a little bit and be just kind of like you ripped it out of the notebook, right? All right. Hello to everyone that's joining a little late. No problem. You can always catch the replay. I know some folks that like to go back to the beginning and they play me on 2x speed to catch up. To be honest with you, that's how I watch all of my YouTube videos, on 2x the speed. It's fun and it's fast. And when you watch it at normal speed, they sound drunk. So it's kind of funny how that works. All right, so let me, there we go. See, but the nice thing about this, if I had done this with a dye ink, this might still be wet. All right, and it might have crinkled the paper, and if you really had to put down a couple of layers to get a nice solid look here. So the nice thing about the VersaFine, it's dry already. It didn't wrinkle the paper. It's absolutely gorgeous. And if I hadn't had this little oops here, it would be super perfect, right? Okay, so let's talk about gluing vellum. You have to kind of test out how it's going to work. Let me grab something that would be helpful. So having a little sponge dauber can be helpful. So what I'm going to do is, so I'm going to put a little bit of glue on a little block here. And I'm going to daub the glue on here. And this is going to allow her to stick, but you're not going to see the glue peeking through. All right, I'm still going to try to avoid all the big spaces. Well, actually, I don't think I have to. Let's try it. All right, so now she's just kind of like a sticker. All right. And when I put her over this, now you're not going to notice this little shadow here that happened from when we were stamping. Yep, that worked like a charm. So just using a sponge dauber with your glue to get a nice even layer without any zigzags or anything like that. I mean, look, you can't even see. You don't see anything through here, right? Looks like I could have put a little bit more on. So let's do that. Peel it back carefully. So yay, Gwen, I'm glad to see I'm not alone in my love for VersaFine. Much like your Altenew Obsidian Black or whatever, they take forever to run out, it seems. So they're a really great investment, and of course you can get re-inkers for them. So yeah, so Gwen, I thought I saw something the other day about like some dots that worked really well with vellum. So sticky micro dots. If you have a link, Gwen, would you mind posting it? Or if you find it later, post it down in the video comments, because I've been kind of looking for something like that. So I did get just a little, you can see a little bit of the glue coming through here, but for the most part, it worked really well. On this one, I just put glue in the hair, and then I kind of followed her profile a little bit here. to get her stuck down. So that's the other trick, is to just put the glue where the stamp image is and not where the open spaces are, and that'll help keep that from showing up like it's been stuck down, right? It'll look like a nice clear vellum. All right, so that's a little trick that has okay success. All right, so let's grab our sentiment, and I'm going to chop this guy up. You just need to remember to keep your words in order, because you don't want to be saying like you're of a one kind or something like that, right? I'm going to keep the of a together for this one. Sometimes I separate them. And this needs a little, just a little trim at the beginning here. All right, so I always dry fit these down first. And when I do this kind of piecing, usually I like to tilt them, cant them a little bit. A lot of times it works out well if you keep your top one square and your bottom one square. All right, and then you can angle your in-between ones. That's a nice trick to get them to look nice. All right. And then I pick them up one at a time. I'll do the top and the bottom first in case I happen to put them down in a different place. That way I can make sure that I'm spacing evenly with the middle ones. You know, Teresa, I tried that with the Altenew double-sided adhesive, and I did not like the results because it made the vellum even darker and I couldn't see the image coming up through it. I was kind of disappointed, actually. All right, my glue decided that it's going to be like a fountain right now, so that happens every once in a while. So I have glue on my hand here. And I'll show you, actually, I have that piece that I put the vellum on the back of, Teresa, and I'll show you guys in a second here what I didn't like about it. I will clean that up later. There we go. So we've got to add on some embellishments, of course. We're going to use those gems that we used last week from Picket Fence. So let me grab what I need here. I need tweezers. I need my on-point glue. Let's split us on the side here too, so you can kind of see. All right, so I was trying to figure out where I wanted to put my gems for this. I need to pull out. I tried mixing the gems too, but I didn't like the way that it looked, so I need to make sure that they're all the same color. And I need 3 of these teeny tiny ones because those are going to go in her hair, like a beret, I should say. So you just have to do a little digging. And I need one more small one. Okay, so I think there's actually 4 sizes in here because these 2 appear to be even smaller than these 3. So let's do a search for one more teeny tiny one. Okay, so there's all my gems. Okay, so I wanted to put some in her hair and I thought, well, maybe I would just kind of go around, but then they seemed to get lost. So my idea then became taking these 3 and putting them in her hair as a barrette, sorry, I keep saying beret, a barrette. All right, so you just kind of have to make that happen right here on the side. And then these other ones, just going to do kind of like, so in my triangle, right? Actually, you know what? Here, let's do a different view. This is a better view. We're just going to get really close. All right. So you can see I've got the 3 here that are going to work for the hair barrette. And then some outside. Do the gems look better against the black or the pink areas? So yeah, I mean, they stand out a little bit more. If you wanted to do it that way, for sure. Yeah, we could do it that way. That'll be a little different than what I have on this one. So we can take a look at both. Yeah, so Teresa says, I can see how if you wanted light clear vellum, it might not work, and you used it on heavy vellum. Yeah, so that was the case for me, is that I wanted it to be see-through. But I wasn't getting as much see-through as I wanted because the double-sided tape kind of has a bit of a weave to it. It's not like clear glue. It's not clear tape. Did you see that happen? It's on the floor. I'll have to get another one. So I tried to pick it up with my tweezer and it flew. We will find that with the vacuum later. Nope, that's a silver one. Looking for a rose gold. All right, so these 3 here are on the they're on the embossed stuff, right? So these are going to have to sit and just dry for a little bit longer. Being on that glossy medium, it's going to just take a little bit longer. That's it. That's it. We've got our 2 projects. Bing, bang, boom, done. So now you can see the difference. Here's a couple of them on the dark purple. And then over here, they were all on the light. Now you can see like this is a little bit more light. This is still going to dry a hair lighter. It's going to take about a day for it to really lighten up, for that oil to all evaporate from the ink and really finish what it's doing with the paper. But it's not going to lose any of those crisp lines, which is exactly what you're looking for, right? So there we go. So awesome. So let's see. Gwen says she loves the ripped notebook edge and pattern paper. So the notebook edge is from Altenew, and it is listed down below. It is the Creative Edges notebook die. This one's been around for quite a while. So if you like it, I would grab it because now that it's been around forever and a day, it's hard to see 2017. It's hard to know how long they will have it. But I love, like I said, I love a good notebook edge. I've had notebook edge punches over the years. I like the die. It works really well as well. And then of course you get the extra piece here that you can use for something else, which is totally awesome. And then let me pull out the paper pack because I didn't pull that out before. And then I've got that piece. Okay. So this is the paper pack. This was a collaboration with Altenew and Pink Fresh. And it's called the Celebrate paper pack. And as you can see, mine's been gone through once, twice, 10 times. But I still have some other pieces left. This was just single-sided. So there is, there's some really nice pieces in here. Some different looks as well. So some watercolory stuff, some realistic looking stuff, all sorts of fun different patterns in here, most of which I've used. They do have a 12 by 12 version, so if you like it and you're more of a large scrapbooker, that's worth taking a look at as well. And then here's that piece that I was talking about. So this is the Mega Happy from Altenew. And I did put the double-sided adhesive sheet on the back of this. So let me show you kind of like what I would expect. I wanted, let's do this. Okay, so like let me pull out a fun pattern here because this is really okay. So let's say I wanted to put it on this paper here, but I wanted the pattern to show through. You see how it doesn't really show, but if I used regular vellum without the double-sided adhesive sheet on there, it would really show through. So this is really what I wanted to achieve, but still have it completely sticky. So I'm wondering, Gwen, if those dots that you're talking about might work for that purpose. So you can see, this is with the Altenew double-sided adhesive sheets. Can you see how it looks like it has a bit of a, like a weave or like fiber on there? So compared to a piece of vellum, you can see how much see-through you lose. It's a really great idea if that's what you're going for, though. So yes, Teresa, to your point, this works like a champ. It just kind of depends on how you want to use your piece and how much see-through you want to have in the end. So there we go. Although I'll have to double check the scrapbook.com adhesive sheets and see if they are the same or if they are different in how they work. So more to come on that, I guess. And there we go, guys. So I like this piece and I'm not sure what I'm going to use it for. I've just been hanging it up like this on one of my shelves. So Cece says she doesn't like the dots because she can see them. Yeah, I know, that's the and yeah, Gwen, I'd love to see a sample. Yeah, I just don't like the see-through part, but it's really hard to get around that when glue just inherently makes that happen. Anyway, guys, so there we go. A couple of fun projects. All of the supplies that I use are down in the links below. They're affiliate links, so if you use them when you shop, I might get a small commission, and that's at no additional cost to you and a great way to show your appreciation for today's live stream. So on our way out today, don't forget to click the like button if you liked our episode today, and share it out to any friends that might be interested in joining us next time for another live stream, and who maybe would just enjoy learning a little bit more about crafting and catching up with all the projects that we have created in the past. So I'm so glad that all of you chose to spend a few minutes with me today, and I hope that you all have a wonderful start to your weekend and that you get some crafty time in, because we all need that relaxing time, and we all deserve it too. So I will see you here next week with our final backgrounds project, and until next time, happy crafting, guys.